Paper roll tube rockets are quite straightforward to make, but like everything else, you need a few attempts before you get a really good quality one. But even very young children, sort of 8 years old and above, can make these tubes. And then you can make it into a rocket and lots of other things as well. So we've got a little piece of card, we've got a spongy foam tip, we've got some A5 paper. You can make them from any size paper, but standardise, and then you start with all the same rocket sizes anyway. A wooden rod called a mandrel, that's about 15 millimeters or so across. A mandrel and some sticky tape. So let's go for it. The mandrel, depending on whether you want to make a long rocket or a short rocket, the mandrel is placed onto the paper, but get it lined up so the edge of the paper is parallel with the rod. Well, really, you'd only do it by looking down on it. Curl the paper around. Here's another way to curl the paper around. Oops. Curl the paper around, and then as long as you pull the paper tight against, you'll see you're not in line. So get that bit there, and bring it round until the edge lines up. Oh, too far. The edge lines up. Don't let go. That edge isn't lined up. That edge isn't lined up. Yes, it is. Now roll it back and then tuck underneath. So you're trying to get these corners particularly tucked underneath. Tuck underneath. Once you've tucked underneath and rolled forward a little bit, you've trapped it underneath the mandrel, and it starts to wind the paper on top of the paper. So there we go. Continue winding. Don't let go. Don't let go. Don't let go. Hold tight. And now what we want to do is put a piece of tape on. So we'll get the first bit of tape on the middle, and then you can safely let go. Now when you put the tape on, do it like this, look. Go for the edge that's sticking up. Put the tape on the top, but don't just try and press it down. Grab hold and pull it round. And as you pull it round and smooth it on, the tape pulls the paper tube tight. And if you can get a tight paper tube, it's a strong paper tube. So same thing again, look for the edge that's up in the air, put the tape on that back edge, there we are, smooth it down, then you sort of grab hold of that and roll it round and smooth it round. There it goes. Fantastic. If you're making a rocket, it's got to be streamlined so it goes through the air smoothly with very little drag. So that's how you do it. You might want to put a bit more tape on these little bits that stick up. So untwist the rod. If you made a really good tube, it won't fall off the rod. And let's just see how well I've made this one. And when you pull the rod out, you should be able to stand the tube up on its end. So that's worked reasonably well. Fabulous. So there's our paper tube. Now I've got the tip. Now it's a safety tip. The idea is that the tip, whatever it hits, it can bounce off. So that means you can't put the whole tip inside the rocket. You've got to have half of it in and half of it out, approximately, maybe a little bit less than half of it sticking out. Try not to damage the rocket body, the tube, when you're fitting the tip in, and take some tape. So this is a little bit fiddly, These were only relatively short bits of tape, but this is longer. I want it to go, well, all the way around. And I'm putting, look, half of the tape onto the paper and half of the tape widthways onto the foam. Now gently pull it round. Don't attempt to stick it onto the foam yet. Overlap it all the way around. Now because the foam is slightly thinner, smaller diameter than the tube, then the sticky tape doesn't quite stick on it. And foam doesn't take sticky tape very well. So now don't squash the tube, but you can squash the tip. You can squash the tape bit by bit all the way around against the tip. And that makes sure that the sticky tape does stick to the tip. Now it doesn't matter that we sort of squashed it a little bit, as long as we haven't totally destroyed it. You can even take a pair of scissors and you can trim the tip. Don't put a point on it, but you can trim the very edge of the foam off the tip and round it. And that just helps with streamlining. Keep streamlining it. There's our rocket. Fabulous. Name on, maybe put some coloured designs on it, and that identifies your rocket compared to all the rest. So what you could do is, you could do, for example, a set of rings round it, a certain colour, and you would know yours was that colour. There we go. Try and do it a bit nicer than that. Lovely. Or you could have a spotty rocket. There we go. Next, in order for it to fly smoothly through the air without changing course, then what you've got to do is have a tail, and usually they're called the sort of the fins, the rocket fins or stabilizers. So what these are going to be made of a piece of card. So what we're going to do is, that's far too much for the stabilizers at the end, so I think I'm going to fold that little strip of card in half, then I'm going to cut it, and this becomes 4 fins. Fold each one of those in half, so you have these little V shapes. Look, they're going to be the fins on one side of the rocket, and then the other side for the other piece of card. So here we go, fold in half. This is going to take 4 smaller pieces of sticky tape. So 1, stick it on like that, back of the rocket, gently smooth it on, because we don't want to change the shape of the rocket, because depending on how we launch it, we don't want to damage that tube. And we want to put one more bit of tape there, just small pieces, just sort of get all tangled up and everything if you do too big a piece of tape. So just small pieces, gently smooth it on. Some people actually put the rod back in for this, you know, because it means you can press that a little bit more firmly without damaging the tube. There we are, and then you want to do the other one on exactly opposite. So we end up with 4 of these little stabilizer fins. Fabulous. Here we go. Let's just try and get that in line. Happy about that? Or maybe a bit further round. Yeah, there we go. One more bit of tape. Oops. Now open it out, and there's our tail. Now, to be honest, that's still too much card. If you look at the shape of the fins on a rocket, quite often they do sweep them back like that, and that just reduces the amount of card on anyway, and that's more like it. You could even cut these down and make them smaller and closer into the body. So that's our basic roll tube rocket. Fantastic.